Do you think Marathon is going to be the next big thing? Yes or no? Are you had Marathon code for me in exchange for that cherry pie? Nope, that's not true. So here's where I stand on it, to be honest with you. I see the gripes of the community. There's two different sides of the community. There's a side of the community that is bashing the game because it's not Destiny. I get it, right? However, what a fucking smooth brain take. Then there's a side of the community that's negative about it because they genuinely just do not like what they see, right? And it has nothing to do with a bias against Destiny or whatever. So there's two different sides. Marathon would have been way better received. They did the ARG, right? The lore, the story, the secrets, Ozymandias, this, that, hint, hint. And then the gameplay reveals just extract and shooter in a story. The trailers is all story, like with intense gameplay and vibrant colors, and the gameplay is like kind of washed out colors, and it's just like very, very simplistic extraction shooter. I don't think it did it justice. If Marathon was a revamp of the 90s Marathon and was a single player campaign, this would be an entirely different conversation. I don't know why they took the route of extraction shooter. I like the idea, but with Bungie and their recipe for success is completely being avoided by trying to do something outside of the box. And I think it doesn't do them justice with what they're capable of doing. At first, I was pretty hyped because finally we get the reveal. And then after watching it a couple of times, bro, it looks like a lot of recycled movements and playstyle from Destiny. I'm just trying to be as fair and honest as possible, but I really wish they had a different approach. And I know a lot of these developers spent years, they pouring their heart and soul out into the game and whatnot. I don't know why they took the extraction shooter route instead of the campaign, because it was a campaign and it had a very dark, dense story that everybody was really interested in. And I think they should have capitalized on that and made a single player campaign for $60. We play the Marathon campaign, fall in love with it and its story. We want more, and then we move on. Kind of like Wukong. Wukong's replayability is ass, but goddamn, it was a really great story for the people that love the lore and all that stuff. And a lot of people like the gameplay, and I got my gripes about it. I'm not going to be silent over that, but I mean, Wukong's a great example. The replayability is shit, but everybody loved it. And I think they could have done the same thing with Marathon, in my opinion. I think Bungie really taps into over-marketing, over-hyping, so no matter what, we're going to get let down. The build-up for Marathon was great. However, it was almost too much, right? And then we got with that gameplay that just didn't, in my opinion, just wasn't what we thought. I think it was decent. I think it was good, but I don't think it was great. In my personal opinion, I think Marathon will be okay at best. And I hate to say that because, man, I'm probably not going to get invited to nothing now. Yeah, I just wasn't really that impressed. And then, like I said, the invisibility thing, that's something that just needs to get taken out of the game 100%. Invisibility. Stop with the invisibility. I'm still going to play the alpha when it comes out, when I get my code. I don't even have my code yet, but I'm still going to play the alpha. I'm still going to make a video on it. I could change my mind completely, but I'm just trying to be real. I took another look at the graphics, and it was completely under-delivering from what we saw in the trailers. The trailers, the colors looked a lot more vibrant. They popped a lot more, and they looked great. And then when we saw the gameplay, it was washed down. It looks like they turned the saturation down about 75%. It looked like low detail mode. It just did not look the same. I think it does have a chance to do great. It has a chance to be the best extraction shooter of all time. Sure. What's the likelihood of that happening? I mean, honestly, less than 1%. Shroud had a great point. People that like extraction shooters really like how hard it is. And he gave the example of whenever you bring up your inventory, it already tells you the price tag of each item. So it tells you if it's good or it tells you if it's bad. Some of the fun, a lot of the fun from the people that love extraction shooters, love the aspect of figuring that out themselves. And that's what he was really harping on. And I don't agree with a lot of what Shroud says, but I do agree with that. Do you think Marathon will flop? I don't know. I hope it doesn't. I genuinely hope it does okay at the least. I genuinely hope it does. I never want to wish bad, especially because if Marathon flops and does incredibly terrible numbers, what does that mean for Bungie? What does that mean for Destiny? What does that mean for my job?
Yeah, so just chatting about Marathon and what's going on. First of all, let me just say that I am very excited about the game. I think it looks super cool. The art style may not be for everybody, but I really think the gameplay elements look fun, and I really enjoy gunplay, abilities, movement in Destiny as it is today. And so to see more of that didn't necessarily upset me. But I do have one concern that I think is going to be pretty controversial if you'll let me share it with you guys.
Yeah.
You never played Destiny 1, right, Brad?
Never. No, I have not. Mm-mm.
The storyline system in that game was based on what they called grimoire cards. As you would play through missions and complete content, what you would see happen is you would unlock these grimoire cards, and you had to go read them outside of the game if you wanted to know what was happening. From the ARG that we did, the few days leading up to the stream and the week leading up to the stream, look at how much of that content that we unlocked was lore-based. There were like 2 or 3 steps that we had to do to go in and unlock the stream reveal trailer and the date, and there were a couple things we had to do related to the rover, but a lot of the information, like all the chat logs in Traxxas, in the satellite website, all the information that was available on the UESC terminal, stuff like logs and lunch menus, all that was more lore-basis stuff. We didn't actually do anything with it for the purposes of the ARG. When I look at those pieces of information, what Bungie has done with storyline in the past, and the gameplay that we saw, no social hub, no real storyline elements or contract elements, like really you just have the few prime contracts from the vendors. I'm concerned that we're going to see something that's similar where, there's no storyline at all. And in order to go figure out the lore of this amazing universe that they've created and these characters and these runners, you're going to have to go dig outside of game for those storyline beats. And I think that's going to be a big turnoff for Destiny 2 players that have gotten used to seeing all of these storyline elements and these incredible universes that Bungie has created within the game itself. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
No, I agree with you. And that kind of ties into what I said earlier about, man, if this was a single player campaign instead of extraction shooter, I would be so hype, because just with how ominous and mysterious the lore that we got was, even in the final trailer of the dev stream of the gameplay reveal that we got, was incredible. And it really pulled me back in after being turned off from so many different aspects of the gameplay where I was like, I don't know about this, I don't know about that. But when I saw that trailer, it really pulled me back in and made me interested. But like I said, it's an extraction shooter, and I don't know how much they're going to be tying into a story, some type of campaign style gameplay with an extraction shooter. And like I said, I think it would have been very much more well received if it was more of a campaign that focused on the incredible story that Marathon can deliver and Bungie can make, because that's their bread and butter. They tell great stories. I wish I had a little bit of insider information to see what their beginning blueprints were 6 years ago, whenever they were trying to decide on what game they wanted to make and why they took the extraction shooter route. Did they see an opening in the market? Did they have a team full of people that wanted the extraction shooter? Did they have higher ups? Like, I wish I had the blueprints to understand the thought process to go in that direction, because it's out of, for lack of a better term, it's out of pocket for Bungie with their history of games that they've released.
And things like the UI is taking crap. I think it's clean. It looks fast. It looks responsive. It looks uncluttered. It looks like it does the job it's intended to do. But at the same time, there's all these hesitations. And I'll reserve any judgment until I got my hands on it. I mean, obviously, it's a studio I respect. I'm going to support their work. I'm going to buy the initial release. I'm going to check it out myself and develop my own opinions. But yeah, there's a lot of concern coming out of yesterday about what that experience will be like.
The UI to me also looked clean. What I didn't like was some of the reticles. It being an extraction shooter and it be high risk, high reward. I want the basic information that I need to complete a task. And this, what I'm about to give an example of, is some of the reticles. Some of the reticles had way too much information on it, and it made the UI look junky. Like there were 3 lines on the reticle, there were some numbers on it that just is there for show and realism. But I didn't like that because, prior service here, military, I just want the basic and little information as possible, the most effective information to complete the task at hand. And it made it look junky, a little junky for me. But other than like some of the reticles that I saw, I thought that the UI did look clean. What I didn't like was the audio jumble. There was way too much audio feedback from the AI that was communicating, the NPCs that were in the area. I know I do love footsteps. That was one of my gripes about Warzone in the beginning. There was just, you couldn't hear audio with the footsteps, but I do love the footsteps. But there's so much audio that it's going to start canceling it out, and it just sounds like a bunch of, like you're at a metal concert, and all the noises blend in together. But that's what I didn't like. I did call that out whenever I was watching the stream yesterday.
Yeah.
It just a little jumbly for me. Some of the chat's bringing up, and I agree with them with the proximity chat. Their only reason from what I know and what I've seen, their only reason for not bringing in proximity chat was due to, and obviously for not verbatim, but hurt feelings. They don't want to entertain that, and I think that's honestly the proximity chat is a part of the fun with some of these multiplayer shooter games.
Single most toxic feature I have ever experienced in a video game. Hands down.
Definitely.
And you can't go to Bungie and say, guys, you have to put this in the game. It's the greatest thing ever, because it's an instant 18 plus rating on the game.
Yeah.
It's an instant mature rating. But I do agree with you. Being someone who has played competitive shooters in the past, SOCOM, oh my gosh, when SOCOM first introduced proximity chat, and you were staring down that hall and someone was down on the other end screaming, "Come and get me, bitch, I'm right here, I'm waiting on you."
Yeah.
And you could hear them. It was just, it increased the experience. It was such an adder to the play. I hate that that's a toxic element. It is. I can't argue with that. But I really think that's a missed opportunity. I hate to see that not be incorporated in this type of game.
Yeah, I think some of these conversations are very, I think they need to be had, I think it's very productive for not only the player base, but also the company, if they listen to some of this feedback that people have, you know what I mean? So I think, thanks for coming on here and actually...
and I don't want to be all doom and gloom. I think that's exactly what the alpha is for, isn't it? It's for the player base to get their hands on the game. The people that followed the ARG, if you've played Destiny and you have a lot of hours in it, you're able to tell them that when you apply for your alpha code. If you didn't win one yesterday, you can go on the Discord, you can request an alpha. They want people who like their games to play this and give them that feedback. So I'm really encouraged by that. I know you got a lot of things to do. I got a couple things this afternoon too. I won't take up any more of your time. Thanks for having me on, Brad. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your stream, brother.
Hey, thank you so much, man. Thanks for coming on. It's always a pleasure, brother. Yeah, guys, I do love that we have another alpha code release, and they're not just having content creators play. Because what do content creators get famous for on video games? Being good at them. And not everybody is good at video games. So grabbing casual players, grabbing shitty players, grabbing good players, and then having them all try out the game and getting feedback from all different areas of players, I think is a great idea. So instead of just having content creators play it, fuck us, man. We most of us are good because it's our job. So I think getting you guys involved into the mix is huge, and hopefully they make some really good changes with that. So